Hello and welcome to Super Insider, a podcast on all things the economy, investing and retirement and what it means for you. It's proudly brought to you by Australian Retirement Trust and I'm your host. My name is Anne Fuchs and look, I am a lucky duck because today we are recording Super Insider from Byron Bay, from the G'day Discovery Park here. It's a beautiful day here in Byron, coming to visit one of our precious assets, what I describe as the jewel in the crown of Australian Retirement Trust, over $300 billion of assets. This is one of our absolute favourites. And with me are some very cool dudes. Grant Wilckens, who's the CEO of G'day Discovery Parks, lots and lots of parks, and Michael Weaver, who works with me at Australian Retirement Trust as head of global real assets and head of our UK office, and maybe has a cooler job than me because you get to go out and find all these cool businesses to invest in that make our members money and traveling the world to see that. So you're also a lucky duck.
Very lucky.
So welcome. You good, Grant?
Very well, thank you, Anne.
Now, before we get into it, of course, I just need to remind you that this is general advice and general information only, and you will need to decide if it is right for you. Okay, here we go. Discovery Parks. Look, for those of you that are listening and you can't see what it is and you're not watching us on YouTube, it's a pretty special place. Do you want to describe what these assets are, Grant?
Well, Discovery Parks is a network of over 90 parks located right around Australia, everything from Byron Bay to Cradle Mountain to the Kimberley and southern WA. So it's a portfolio right across Australia. And in addition to that, we've got about 300 parks in the G'day Group network, and they're a licensee or a franchise network. So they get to be part of our group and they get to benefit from all of our investment in marketing and systems. And we sell their products, they sell their cabins and their powered sites to a much bigger network. And in addition to that, we've got another app called WikiCamp.
WikiCamp.
There we go, which is the travel companion when you want to travel around Australia and go exploring. So 2,500 staff in a very big industry.
A lot of Australians employed there.
Yeah, a lot of Australians employed. And obviously we really give great memories to a lot of Australians that travel around this wonderful country. So big industry, $27 billion is the size of the industry. About 15.9 million nights.
Yeah, I can't comprehend that. My brain goes into a malfunction when you say 15.9 million nights. Wow.
So it's a much bigger industry than most people realise because lots of Australians like to get out and see the regions, and we provide that opportunity for a safe place to stay with great experiences so they can go and see this wonderful country.
You mentioned WikiCamps. Now, that sounds like something I'm looking up on Google when I want to research something, but it clearly probably is, but it's researching camps, maybe?
Look, WikiCamps is the number one app in the App Store.
Get out of town.
Unbelievable. And once again, your members own it. So it's a travel companion. It has everything from reviews of every single caravan park and even camping spot around Australia. It has points of interest. We call it the travel companion, a trip planner so you can plan your trip around Australia, know where to stay. It's an absolutely fantastic tool that people use. So, our vision is to be the undisputed leader in regional travel experiences. So when you put WikiCamps together with G'day and Discovery, we really are a very, very powerful company, and we're really, really excited about what we can do and unlock the wonders of Australia.
And look, I think when people think of caravan parks, probably a lot of people think of the grey nomads only. But we came in last night, and I've just been walking around. So many young families, young kids that are going to go and spend the day in the water park or jumping on a trampoline or in the pool, or like young people that are clearly driving around and seeing the country, young surfers, and just sort of chilled-looking people here in Byron Bay.
That's right. Well, it's a very diversified customer base. So everything from nomads to families. We call it Pester Power. We love the Pester Power. We love the fact that the kids get involved in the water parks and the jumping pillows and all that great fun stuff in our parks, and that's what brings them back time and time again.
Okay, Pester Power. Remember that one. And I know many people in Australia had holidays in caravan parks. Michael Weaver, I'm going to bring you into the conversation. Did you have a holiday holiday when you were growing up in a caravan park? What was it about this particular investment that, as someone that's looking at our how we can deploy our members' capital to generate a really strong return so that they can retire well with confidence? What was it about this portfolio? Was it a bias towards just happy memories, or was it something more?
No, you'd like to think that we do a bit more diligence and just
Sorry, that was
memories.
moving.
But one of the things we really liked about it, we actually made our first significant investment into Discovery Parks back just after the GFC. And so global financial crisis had happened.
So was that 2009 or 10?
Yeah, 2010 by the time we actually invested. But it was one of those investments that we looked at and we said, how did it perform during the GFC? Because a lot of businesses were really impacted. But the revenue that was generated through the holiday parks was actually quite stable. And then we looked into why that was, and people still wanted to have a holiday. They still wanted an experience. They still wanted to go and have fun with the family, or grey nomads who still had that plan that they wanted to travel. And so we looked at it and said, well, we think it's actually more stable than it might appear. And so we decided to do more work, and then we invested.
I mean, we all need a holiday, no matter how sort of challenging times can be or how tight the budget can be every now and again. And I guess that's what's really special about these Discovery Parks is they're within reach for everybody. They're affordable no matter how old you are. And that's what makes it such a compelling investment.
Yeah, well, you think about where these holiday parks are. They're amazing land on beaches, on rivers. And so at the end of the day, if you can provide the opportunity for families to go and experience this sort of land in incredible locations, it's an amazing part of what the investment really is, because it's got that freehold land and then that connection to what this country has to offer.
Prime real estate Australia.
Absolutely.
So you were the CEO back in 2010.
Absolutely, yes.
And so how do you find each other, without that sounding a peculiar question? Because I know you have developed a really strong sense of trust. So take me back in time to 2010 when this deal was put to you, Michael Weaver. I can't help describe for our listeners and viewers what that was. How does an investment like this land on your desk for consideration about whether you're going to invest members' money?
Yeah, so we see lots of different investments. Our job's to think about every investment that comes our way and think about which ones make most sense for our members. At the time, the business was looking to raise some capital, right, to take it through the next stage of development. And they had a private equity investment, and we looked at the investment and said, does this make sense for our members? And we bought a 27% stake as part of that process. But underwriting what we thought the thematic of the industry was, what we thought of the management team, what we thought of the growth prospects, what we thought the income would be, as well as the growth. And so thinking about how this sort of business would compound returns for members over time. So from a really long-term perspective, real estate-wise, we thought that this would be a good investment for our members for the long term that could continue to grow from there. So it was early 2014 and we went from about 27% to about 95% of the business at that point in time.
Michael, our members, I'm sure, are wondering, how do caravan parks like this grow their super?
Well, we really like the business because it has both income, all right, so yield from everyone coming and staying. They obviously pay rent
like we did last night.
Yep. And then it also has growth, right? Potential to continue to invest, both buying new parks, but then also development within the existing parks. And because it's a part of such a nice growing industry, we expect people to continue to travel around Australia and see more of the country. So we think the thematic behind it is actually really strong as well. So combination of those factors means it should create good returns for members, and it has since we've invested, and we expect that to continue because there is a lot of development opportunity. It's the largest investment in the real estate portfolio that I'm responsible for looking after, along with the infrastructure portfolio. And so I think for us, when we look at this sort of investment, we think it can continue to grow the same way we expect Australian Retirement Trust to grow. So that ability to grow together is really a unique value.
This is what it actually means in real life. It's not just a number on a page. It's people living their lives and having great memories.
Yeah, and making tough decisions as businesses grow, right? You've got to make the right decisions whenever we're looking at investment and thinking about what we're going to invest our members' capital in, all right? And there's lots of different investments out there. Our job's to make sure we avoid ones that aren't so good.
That's what you say no to as well.
Yeah, that's really important.
So, Grant, you have this incredible vision, not just for Discovery Parks, but I think it comes from a love of this country and wanting to create economic opportunity for regional Australia, create jobs, create sustainable, secure, happy communities. That's what I see in you. Why did you think that partnering with Australian Retirement Trust was the best way to fulfill that vision that you have rather than floating?
Oh, I think Australian Retirement Trust, or superannuation, is a really stable capital, and I think at the end of the day, if you think about the listed environment with an IPO market or something, it's obviously volatile, and this is a long-term growth. I mean, it's property, so you need to obviously have a long-term vision with a long-term strategy. And I think partnering with Michael and with ART, Australian Retirement Trust, it gave us the ability to sort of set a strategy and work towards executing it with a nice sort of we've been quite aggressive in terms of our growth strategy. We haven't been an organisation which has stood still, but we've actually been talking to ART with the growth strategy right the way through, and that's helped us grow. We've had access to capital, we've invested in our parks, we've acquired parks, we've invested in systems, and that growth has been very stable with the help of ART.
Well, the facilities are beautiful here, I have to say. It's all brand spanking new, and lovely sort of products in the bathroom too, which I wouldn't have thought.
There we go.
At a caravan and cabin park. Now, Michael, I'm guessing that wasn't at the top of your list of what excited you about this investment and how it can make our members money. Can you actually break down, for those who are really interested in the money side of this, what are the features of this asset that are compelling in terms of an investment profile, and what role does it play in our wider portfolio?
Yeah, so it's actually the largest investment in our real estate portfolio. Quite a large investment because it is quite diversified in terms of size around Australia, so very large business. So when we look at what's the potential for growth from an investment, we think about what's the long-term dynamics of that industry. So the industry has been growing for a long term.
Well, what is the growth rate?
Well, it's well above CPI. So we're sitting at, over the period of the last 20 years, we started the business in 2004. It's been a very, very stable business, which is really, forget about sort of an addition of cabins and things like that, which grow the income greater than obviously CPI. But the general industry has been going at about 4.5% over that period.
Year upon year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have inflation growth, you have market growth. And one of the reasons the market grows, Australia is growing. There's more and more people in Australia. There's more, it's helped by demographics. So we've mentioned grey nomads. That's helpful. More and more people do want to see Australia. All right. I've been fortunate to see a bit of Australia. I'd like to see more. Like, there's 90 parks all around the country. It's an amazing network to be able to see. And so one of the other advantages is income and growth, but then different parts of the country will be just going better than other parts at different points in time. So that diversification, it's actually really helpful, we think, from an investment perspective. It gives you good downside protection because not everything's impacted by one event, and there's been challenging events.
No, we should talk about that. Like COVID, 2020 would have been a really hard year for this group with the fires, but also the pandemic, and that's probably where you got a little bit of your grey hair, Grant.
Yeah, it started going grey about then, absolutely. So,
do you want to describe 2020?
Yeah, look, it's we've had many moments in our 20 years where we've had floods and bushfires, but the great part about the business is just so resilient. So look, certainly like every other business, there was 3 months of uncertainty when everybody was locked down and people weren't able to travel. But it wasn't long after sort of everybody realised that they could travel within their own state or get not too far away from home, that really the resurgence of caravan and camping was just very, very strong, and people went out and invested in
people
caravan.
buying. This is a thing.
Bought a new caravan, and then they had to upgrade the car. So all of a sudden, people have invested $150,000 in a car and a caravan, and that means they're invested in the industry, and so
forever.
And that means they want to use it. So if you've got a caravan, you want to get out there and use it on the weekends. So really, post COVID, there's been a resurgence of new caravan sales, and the industry, as I said, just continues to go from strength to strength, and it's because it's an affordable holiday. People, every Australian can afford to go to a holiday park, whether it's an unpowered site or a deluxe cabin, there's something for everybody.
So, Grant, how will Discovery Parks benefit Australian Retirement Trust ART members over the next 1, 5, 10, who knows how many years?
Well, the great part of Discovery Parks and the G'day Group is the opportunity. We've got so much opportunity to continue to expand the portfolio from an acquisition perspective, but then we've got new markets. We're the owner of El Questro, which is a luxury lodge up in the Kimberley. It's absolutely stunning. 700,000 acres of land, beautiful campsites, glamping, and a luxury lodge. So there's the luxury part of our business, but then there's over $1 billion of development potential within our parks as well. So
what does that mean?
Well, look, I mean, when you look around this park, you can see that there's, deluxe cabins, and you've got some glamping around over the back there, which you went and had a look at. So, the opportunity to turn, sort of a low yielding unpowered site into a cabin is quite significant right across the portfolio. Having said that, we need to make sure that we've got caravan sites available to the market, because that's obviously why they come. So it's that opportunity to really have a luxury piece, continue to grow the portfolio through acquisition, but then obviously the development part is really the major driver of the financial returns over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. We're really excited about the sort of $1 billion of development potential.
And your message to our 2.4 million members and all, we've just got this more and more people listening to Super Insider who aren't members, which is also cool. What's your message to them?
Well, my message to all of your members is to get out there and enjoy the parks. I mean, this is your investment. You own this business, and the more that you go and explore this wonderful country and stay in the G'day Parks or Discovery Parks, it obviously helps your superannuation. So get out there and get amongst it.
It's a beautiful virtuous cycle of using your retirement, spending your retirement savings in something that you're invested in, which is also creating economic opportunity and for regional communities all around Australia, prospering small businesses.
Absolutely.
Creating memories.
The benefits to the regional communities is unbelievable. I mean, that's the local coffee shops. It's all of that.
A cracker of a coffee this morning.
It's the impact that we have on the local communities, which is really, really important too. So caravan holiday parks are just a major part of the Australian economy. So
yes, well, certainly I know in Queensland, it's small business represents. I think it's more than 95% of the Queensland economy, and so you've got a big portfolio in Queensland too, my home state. Yeah,
we
good.
do.
South Australian, New South Welshman here in Byron Bay. Thank you so much for coming on to Super Insider. How was it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good.
All right, we'll have you back again. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much. Please tell your family and friends, subscribe to Super Insider, give us a top rating, and we'll see you again very soon.